Okay, so my name is Christy, and I'm here with Kasse Andrews-Weller. We are at the closing reception for the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities exhibition, Legacy, Civil Rights at 60. The date is March 1st, 2020. And you have agreed to take a few moments to tell us about your own story, especially how the story is related to civic action. Do I have your permission to record this interview?
You do.
All right, thank you. And it's sounding good. Put it a little closer. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your earliest memories of civic action?
Yes. I was born in rural Georgia in the 50s, and I was in the segregated South. My eyes were open wide to the lack of, I can say, sensitivity to people of color where I grew up. And it really hit home because my father was a sawmiller in Georgia, and he was a World War II vet, so he had been in a integrated war. And he, as a sawmiller, would hire those who were disabled, and most of them were of the background of African American. He would hire the one-eyed, the one-legged, the one-armed, all of the disabled vets he could possibly hire. And they were just very appreciative of having him take on work for them. My earliest memory is my father had an old pickup truck, and he would go to the homes of these African American lumber men and pick them up, and they would all be in the back of the truck because they didn't have cars themselves. So I grew very close to most of them. He would send me on a lumber truck to go get some logs, and I would be there with a black man, Lex. And then my grandparents also had a cook who was an African-American male named Nick Drake. And Nick became very close to me, too. He was like my second father. So when all the turmoil started with desegregation of the southern schools in Georgia, my heart went out to those that were chosen to integrate the school system. And that has carried on with me too. When I, finally finished my undergraduate school, I wanted to go to a school that was the furthest away from the South and the discrimination that was shown. And we're talking about the early 70s. And so I went as far away as I could, that I could get a scholarship. And then I went into the military, and then I had a lot of African American bosses. And to me, that, it didn't make any difference. To a lot of people, it made a difference in their lives. But, I ingratiated myself to everybody that I worked with. And that's a carryover now. I do my best, and I'm advocating, helping those that are people of color that have served. And I help them with their art. I got a degree in art. And to me, there is nothing that expresses a connection more than art. And it it doesn't have to be spoken. It is the visual presentation. I am also an advocate for getting those that served and were discriminated upon in their service to our country and were disabled during that period of time. And they do not know how to work the system to get disabilities. I have, in the last year, gotten 2 people a 100% disability where they had none. We're talking about a World War II vet and a Vietnam vet.
Wow.
And that means so much to me, and being able to reach out and help them. And they, in turn other people on to me to help them. I'm also, like I said, an advocate of helping them with their art programs. I volunteer at the DC VA Medical Center here in Washington, D.C. with their residents in what they call the Community Living Center. These are people that will never go home, whatever home is. The Community Living Center is now their home. So I work with the therapists there to do programming for them. And I have one that's very special, and all he does is draw. He'll pull out his portfolio if you go to see him, which is a manila file folder, but it's full of portraits of people that he sees when they come through the DC VA. He may not know them, but he captures them. And I get him in exhibits. And the first time I sold a piece of his work was over 5 years ago. And I sold it for $35. And I asked him, I said, what are you going to do with this money when I gave him the cash? And he said, and he's had a stroke, so he doesn't talk very well, but he says, I'm going to buy a cheeseburger and a pair of shoes. There's the same one I show every year in a exhibition in Rockville, and they give out buttons that say artist to everybody that comes to the receptions. Well, he hasn't been able to come because of his disability, but every time I go to see him, he's got that button on his shirt. So he wakes up every day and he has identity. So that, and currently we have Artomatic that's coming to the city, and it's opening March the 8th, 2024 at 2100 M Street Northwest. And we're installing a healing arts wall where we are featuring disabled veterans and also people that use art as their therapy of healing from their military experience. So I would say, carrying over from my youth to now in the latter day of my life, I am an advocate.
Advocacy and allyship.
Yes.
You seem wonderful. I was going to ask about a significant protest experience, if you've had one. However, it sounds also like many of these experiences to you are like the action that you see fit to take. Do you have a memory of a protest experience either here or anywhere else in the country for civil rights?
Yes, I do. And it goes back again to my days in undergraduate school in Macon, Georgia. We heard about one of the marches here in the district, and a carload of us came up for that and participated.
Who did you come with?
I came with like-minded. I was in an all-girls school in Macon, Georgia, so you can imagine what that was like. And there was a carload of us. And I remember we just loaded up the car. We had no idea where we were going to stay or anything once we got here. but we were able to find a hotel room, and there were about 6 of us in one room. That was before you had, you had the seat at the front seat where you could sit 3 and 3 in the back. So
Right.
yes, we had a carload, and I remember coming back, and we pulled off at Peeler Road off of the interstate somewhere when you said Peeler. And I just remember Peeler, where we were so exhausted that we pulled out, and we all tried to sleep in the car before going on back to Macon, Georgia.
Wow. And what did you find when you came to DC? Could you paint us a picture of what it was like, the protest?
I can tell you that it was kind of scary because here we are white, and it is, a march for civil rights. So we didn't know what we were going to encounter. But everybody accepted us and knew that we were genuine in our commitment to the civil rights movement.
Wow.
And I am working now with one of the leaders, the black leaders. And I don't want to mention his name, but he did a march, and he got shot 3 times. And he was an Air Force veteran before he went into civilian life. But I am working with him and through his wife, because he's up in age, he's about 90 years old. But I am working for him and trying to help with his legacy. So I told some people that are like-minded about this exhibit, the 60th of civil rights, the 60th year of civil rights here at the DC Commission of the Arts and Humanities. And those people flew in to see that exhibit. And they are taking what they saw and applying it for the legacy of the Great Migration from the South to the North.
Yes. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So, you're how old when you make this trip? To take us back to the past? 17? 20
It was
something?
it was in 1972. So I was 22 years old.
You were 22 years old. What is it? You get there, you stay in the hotel, you go out the next morning, right?
Yes.
What does it look like, sound like, smell like?
It
in the
was
streets, what does it feel like?
It was, I will say that there was so much energy. You could feel the energy. You could feel the passion of what people believed in. And you were surrounded by like-minded people, no matter what their color. And that injustice had been done, and it needed to be undone.
And you've been in D.C. now for how long?
I served in the military, so I was bouncing around, but I got back to D.C. in, 2001, and so I decided this is where I wanted to plant my roots. I served in the Pentagon for a number of years, and after 9/11, I was pretty much delegated to being here. So I just said, okay, this is where home will be.
Yeah. And so now you're living in the nation's capital.
Yes, I am.
For more than 20 years.
Yes.
It's a center of protest, direct action, activism. What does it mean to you to be living here in the hub of that and also maybe participating in it?
It's interesting because I would say one of the most memorable things that, and probably, I'm trying to think, no, I've protested since then, but Black Lives Matter with the designated Black Lives Plaza. I made some art, and I went and hung it on the fence. I also made, and I had it in my possession, a large Band-Aid made out of clay and with sort of the image of the flag with the stripes and the stars and everything else on the Band-Aid, and it was framed. It just so happened that I picked the day to go down to Black Lives Matter Plaza, and I was going to put that Band-Aid against the wall because I'd already put some on there saying "Stop Trump" and "Stop Trump," and smaller Band-Aids all around. But I then saw Representative Lewis from Georgia. He was there, and it was one of his last public appearances with Mayor Bowser at the Black Lives Plaza. I presented them with that large Band-Aid.
Wow. That sounds like a really moving and sweet moment, perhaps.
Yes, it was. Something that I will never forget. And I have, pictures of it. I had them stand there. But everybody was yelling to Representative Lewis, "Put down your cane, put down your cane." And he did. And he stood there.
Mm. For you, when you think of that day, that's a really positive memory.
Yes.
Of something that you were continuing to go back and do. What is, when you think of some of the challenging memories of direct action or protest here in D.C., is there anything that comes to mind?
Well, I think there's a lot. I have also done small pin Band-Aids of the Ukrainian flag with the yellow on the top to represent the sunflower. The blue on the top to represent the sky, and the yellow on the bottom to represent the sunflower. I made lots of those, and I have given them to. I'm a big fan of Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, and I was a listener contestant and won, and so I got to meet, Peter Sagal, and also Jose Andres. I went to one of the performances at Wolf Trap, and I gave each of them, one of my Band-Aids to wear. And I since have made a lot of sunflowers out of ceramics, and I have donated the proceeds of the sale of those to Jose Andres' World Central Kitchen, and especially for his efforts in the Ukraine.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And the Band-Aids to you, when you present them to people, what do you say that they symbolize?
It's pretty self-evident. I mean, if you take what's going on with the Ukraine now, the feeling of the administration is to support, and yet we have the House under a atrocious leadership that are saying, we don't need to fund them. And I just think, having served in the military, the repercussions of not supporting the Ukraine will come back to haunt us if this continues to happen.
What about with when you got to present the larger Band-Aid? For you, what did that represent?
To me, it means America, and of course we were under a different administration, that we were in a world of hurt. And, just trying to say why is unexplainable. I cannot understand the support still of, someone that caused riots in the nation's capital, and the atrocities of what happened during that period of time. We need more than a Band-Aid.
Thank you. When you think about the future of civil rights, what comes to mind for you?
then we've got a long way to go.
What do you think some of the issues or questions that you imagine shaping this next generation of citizens, active citizens?
Well, I think, you just have to, all you have to do is, if you can tolerate listening to the Republican candidate for the commander-in-chief of the nation, I can't even express how I think it will set us as a nation so back many generations. I mean, all you've got to do is listen to what's going on at the border, what the states of Florida and Texas with their governors are trying to do to just unravel a democracy. I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer.
Thank you. Is there anything on this theme of civic action that you would like to add as we wrap up?
I would like to see more of what is being represented visually in the gallery here by the DC Commission that makes a statement. And I think the best way to do that is through artists that can visually express what words cannot.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I'm going to pause this.
Okay?